Hello everyone, and welcome to the Maroon Mercenaries review. Today's topic is on a point-and-click adventure called Armikrog. This game was developed in 2015 by Pencil Test Studios and designed by Doug TenNapel, Edward Schofield, and Mike Dietz. Now I can imagine you saying, Marusi, you never said designer names before, why are they special? Well, it's because Doug is best known for the Earthworm Jim series, while Edward and Mike are known for their contribution to the Neverhood. And I am a huge fan of both Earthworm Jim and the Neverhood, so when I became familiar with this game, I was excited to play this. The overall story is told right away in the theme song. You play as a cosmic traveler by the name of Tommyknot and his blind talking dog Beak because his home planet is going to die without a MacGuffin-like resource. The two companions crash into a meteor and perform an emergency landing on a planet. The main idea is to find a way to get off the planet and continue your quest, picking up a new objective on the way via discovering a lone baby and trying to find where the baby needs to be. I find that the story wasn't really that great, like the plot was slapped on for the sake of saying why you have a purpose. On some games it is okay to have a carelessly made story to go along with the game, but I feel that you need a good story to really bring out a point-and-click adventure to life. I wouldn't call Armikrog a game with immersive story, but it isn't horrible enough to push me away from finishing the game. Bottom line, it is good enough to get the job done, but vastly more room to improve. On top of that, I remember both Earthworm Jim and the Neverhood to be hilarious games from the offbeat humor it produced. The jokes from Armikrog aren't that great. From my first playthrough, most of them missed its mark. The second time around, I had an "oh, now I get it" moment followed by a chuckle afterwards. Take this for example.
Beak, look at that. What do you make of this guy?
Ooh, an omelet.
Amusing, but nothing compared to the inspirational titles before it. Very few jokes landed right away and landed hard that I could actually have a good laugh. And then there is the secret hot rod zip kicker where I felt it truly captured the feel that the Neverhood had, but still, it didn't land as well. The thing I can appreciate about the concept of story in Armikrog is the readable writing on the wall. It isn't funny at all, but it would be a turn pager if it was a book and not a wall. It had its own good story about a rock miner's life. I only didn't finish it so I can work on this review, but I do want to see how it ends. Like I said before, this game is a point-and-click adventure. The gameplay is simple, just pick up items that can be picked up and then use them with scenery around you. And I did also mention you play as both Tommyknot and Beak. I didn't mean you play as one character and the other tags along, but you switch between characters to interact with the world using each character's talents. Frankly, I like this idea. I wish I can explain more about why, but I can't other than it is a spiced up version of gameplay compared to the Neverhood. However, I can easily describe why I don't like the general gameplay. You pick up the same types of items over and over again where it doesn't really become a puzzle anymore, but instead a fetch quest in its own right. And the unique items are asked in more of an obvious way, even though obtaining said items still takes some work to achieve. On the other side to gameplay would be the puzzles they provide. They are unique and give a Neverhood feel to the game, which I do enjoy. What I don't enjoy is that the puzzles are really difficult that I had the temptation to look up the solution, which I did a few times, or that they are too easy where you figure it out instantly but you still had to go with the motions. Even worse, those motions were long and tedious. Moving on to the graphics, I love stop-motion claymation graphics this game offers to the player. This comes from my fascination with animation, and seeing a medium like clay used in video game graphics does keep gaming fresh in my opinion. I also just appreciate the craftsmanship they did making this by clay instead of 3D rendering. Oh, but it doesn't stop with the clay. In some cutscenes, you see the fine 2D stylings from Doug and feel an Earthworm Jim vibe to it. Overall, I can't think of any complaints about the graphics. Great job, guys! There is a technical side I didn't care for that bothers me enough to mention. It looked like they didn't focus on any detail to the loading screen to the point of making it look very basic. Come to think of it, I think they even used a business or academic style of font for the text on the loading screen. That is too bland for a game like this and stuck out like a sore thumb to me. Talking about the audio is a mixed bag of a general topic. The sound effects and voice work done in the game were done decently. The quality wasn't bad, but I didn't feel that the voice actors really sold it home. They sounded a little bit like they were just phoning it in, which I guess explains why the jokes didn't land. Speaking of phoning it in, holy crap, that is exactly what the recording quality sounded like in the cinematic cutscenes. It sounded like they were using low-budget sound studio equipment, and to add salt to the wound, it was the same kind of voice acting performance the gameplay had. Ouch! That really killed immersion for me. However, the redeemable aspect of the game was the music. If you love the Neverhood, then you know of the musician, Terry Scott Taylor, and the awesome job he did with the music. What he did with the music in Armikrog? Well, let's say Armikrog is the less talented little sibling compared to the Neverhood. Comparison aside, the soundtrack did do a good job on its own to bring the world to life. Each song sounded like it was crafted with love and passion for the game. It is a shame that in the game, it felt like I was listening to the same few songs. And don't get me wrong, there is a large enough library in the soundtrack, but it is because you play in a few large levels constantly for backtracking, you do get the feeling of hearing the same few songs. I should also bring up that I got a laugh every time I heard the Easter egg song giving a shout out to people who invested in making this game happen. It goes to show that the studio cares for the people who support this game, and I admire that. And for how much they really care about the supporters, my final thoughts are to be said with a heavy heart. If you aren't a fan of Earthworm Jim, or especially not a fan of the Neverhood, or even new to this type of game, then I can't recommend you buying Armikrog. That is, unless you don't mind how inexpensive the game is. There are a lot of terrible games for the same price as Armikrog, and I would rather you spend your $10 on this game than some other game that is absolute garbage. Although, if you are a fan of Earthworm Jim or the Neverhood and could use something new yet nostalgic, then definitely pick up Armikrog. For this type of gamer, it would be a steal for the price you are getting as long as you don't mind the flaws I mentioned. Hello again, and welcome to the outro. I hope you enjoyed my video today and got an insight of this game. As always, I would appreciate a like to my video and a subscribe to my channel. Make sure to ring the notifications bell to stay current with my videos. I'm the Maroon Mercenary, and I will see you next time.